When people are arguing the NBA GOAT debate, there is always a clash and difference in opinions. Different basketball rules, different teammates and competitions, and many other factors make any GOAT equation extremely complicated to solve. It's hard to compare errors, and it's hard to compare players that play different positions. So we decided to go around that problem and made a list of greatest players for all 5 positions in basketball. Point guard. The internet has spoken and decided that the best point guard, and without any doubt the greatest player of all time, is Mr. Alex Caruso, aka the Bald Mamba. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, we have to say that the actual greatest point guard is another Lakers legend who is maybe not as popular online, but has just a tiny bit more impressive resume. 9 NBA Finals in 11 seasons, with 5 titles, 3 finals, and 3 regular seasons MVPs, and the best assists per game average. Magic has the thickest CV of any point guard who ever played. Before Magic suited up for the Lakers, it was widely regarded that you can't win a championship with a point guard as your best player. Magic immediately changed that narrative as a rookie, pouring 42 on the Sixers in the 1980 Finals and taking home the Finals MVP trophy. Magic had everything you want in a franchise point guard. He was extremely talented and a clear-cut leader. He was flashy yet efficient. His smile could light up the entire arena, and he was one of the main draws for increasing the popularity of the NBA in the 80s when the league desperately needed it. But if you ask me which point guard I would take if 5 aliens came from Moron Mountain and the fate of the world depended on a 5-on-5 basketball game, I wouldn't select Magic in my 5. I would select Steph Curry. While Magic definitely is the best passer of all time and has the most titles and MVPs, he needs the ball to be effective, which would take the ball from the other players in my top 5. With Steph, there is no such problem. With his perpetual running, Steph's movement creates havoc for the opposing defenders even if he doesn't touch the ball. And you have to go after his runs because if you don't, you'll give an open shot to the greatest shooter who ever played. 3 is more than 2. Which the whole basketball world figured out sometime in 2015 thanks to Steph and his Splash brother, who changed basketball forever. With 3 titles, 2 MVPs, and probably 5 or 6 good years left, Curry could still jeopardize Magic's position at the point guard throne. A man who must get honorable mention is John Stockton, the all-time leader in assists and steals, 2 records that will never be broken. Standing just at 6'1" and looking like a high school teacher, John Stockton did everything at a high level. He was a surgically precise floor general, a pesky defender, and above-average shooter. Shooting guard. The best shooting guard and a player that many consider the best ever is Michael Jordan. After he hit the shot against Georgetown and graduated from Mike to Michael, MJ went on to be the most spectacular one-man show in the NBA. Playoff record 63 in the Garden, dunk contest extravaganza with Dominique, and the shot over Elo are just the tip of the highlights Jordan produced in the 80s. By the time the 90s rolled around, MJ had won all the individual awards he could have, and some considered him the GOAT even before his first title. In the words of Jay-Z, Mike was losing to Isaiah, but he soon would get his 6th one. And when he made that last shot over Russell, there was little to no doubt that Michael is the greatest shooting guard who ever touched a basketball. Honorable mention goes to that little Laker boy who did everything in his power to discredit MJ as the GOAT, and even though he was 1 title short, he was undoubtedly a true incarnation of Jordan. Kobe was the biggest worker in basketball history, and probably the most skilled scorer ever. After Bryant, the 3rd best shooting guard has to be D. Wade. Even though his knees sapped his prime, while he was in that prime, he was flash, and he was faster than any defender. With a killer first step and a body that resembled an NFL player, D. Wade single-handedly turned the 06 Finals to Miami's favor and brought them their first title in a Jordan-esque manner. After that, he was the perfect Robin to LeBron's Batman for 2 more Larry O'Briens and then rode into the sunset in the county named after him. His final landing on the commentator's desk could be better, but we'll let that one slide. Small forward. LeBron James is on the basketball Mount Rushmore, and he is slowly but surely closing the gap on Jordan in the GOAT debate. The gap seemed insurmountable after he botched the 2011 NBA Finals, which is basically the only bad playoff series in his career. Oh, it was easy to hate LeBron then, especially after the decision and the not 1, not 2, not 3 Kings landing in Miami. After Dirk gave him that public punch in the gut, LeBron disappeared and reincarnated from King James to King Midas because everything he touched after 2011 turned to gold. He went to every final. He ended Cleveland's 52-year title drought, and he became a Jordan-like leader, understanding he's the best player in the world. In year 17, he is still going strong, and barring injury, he'll have the GOAT statistical output and will likely retire as the all-time leading scorer and top 5 in assists. Apart from that, he became a media mogul, created modern player empowerment, and has the most respected voice in basketball when it comes to social activism and fighting for human rights. Honorable mention goes to Larry Bird, who many people considered the best small forward ever after Bron had won 2 in Miami, and they had plenty of argument. More titles, similar stats, and all-around skill set wasn't any worse than LeBron's, and Larry was, and always will be, a better shooter than James. However, when James blocked Iguodala and won his 3rd, Larry had to slide to the number 2 spot on the all-time list, and he might even slide to number 3 or 4 because KD and Kawhi are not done yet and could enhance their all-time status with a few more rings. KD's combination of size, length, dribbling, and shooting touch is unparalleled, and he is surely top 5 scorer ever, if not higher. Kawhi, on the other hand, is top 5 wing defender ever, who also became an efficient scorer on all levels, and could become the first player winning Finals MVP with 3 different teams. Power forward. Tim Duncan is the most complete power forward who ever played. There were more athletic power forwards than him, more mobile, and some who were stronger, but nobody was as versatile as Timmy, who had the best resume of them all with most rings, wins, and all NBA selections. The big fundamental never made an excess move, and everything he did was methodical and efficient. A post-up powerhouse and a capable mid-range threat, Timmy was extremely hard to guard in his prime. Defensively, prime Timmy was guarding everything under the sun, and the whole Spurs defensive strategy revolved around channeling guards and forwards towards the basket, where a big fella from the Caribbean would wait with his perfect positioning, nimble feet, and 7'5" wingspan. In 2003 NBA Finals against the Nets, Duncan averaged a staggering 5.3 blocks per game to go along with 24 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists, which perfectly shows his brilliance and versatility. If he didn't play for the Spurs, he could have had even more gaudy numbers, but no Spurs fan will complain about his 5 rings in 6 finals and more wins than any other franchise during Duncan's 19 years in San Antonio. When we are talking about other great power forwards, in my book, KG had all the tools Timmy had. Offensively, he was also a post-up powerhouse with a dependable mid-range and an occasional 3, which was rare at the time. On defense, he was the most switchable 7-footer who ever played, and only the fastest point guards could pass by his huge body and long arms. If the Wolves didn't waste his prime with mediocre teams, he could have won more than one championship. We also can't forget about Charles Barkley, who played like he was 6'10", and he was only 6'5". Mobile, agile, hostile. Barkley was the best power forward in the world for many years. Only a prime Jordan cut his championship dream short in a series that could have easily swayed in Barkley's favor. Then there's also Karl Malone, the second leading scorer ever, and another victim of Jordan's. Unstoppable on the block and deadly in transition, Karl Malone was a complete package. And last but not least, we have Dirk, who redefined the meaning of power forward. A 7-footer with a shooting touch, Dirk is another member of 30K Scorers Club, and his playoff run with Dallas in 2011 is one of the best playoffs anyone's ever played. Center. Most people remember Kareem as a balding center that helped the Lakers win 5 championships alongside Magic. Even then, Jabbar was one of the best centers in the NBA. However, when Kareem was in his prime, in the 70s, with a full head of hair, he was the best and most complete player in the league. Jabbar was extremely agile for a 7'1" frame and was regularly averaging 30 points and 15 rebounds. If blocks were measured in the first 4 seasons of Kareem's career, that would surely put him in the front of that category as well. Of course, Mr. Skyhook is the NBA all-time leading scorer and the most decorated center in NBA history. 4 titles in high school, 3 NCAA championships, 6 NBA championships, and 6 MVPs. Mr. Jabbar must have a pretty large trophy room to fill all that in. However, just like Magic, I wouldn't put Kareem in my fantasy top 5. I'd go with 2000 and 2001 Shaq, because that man was a monster. With 330 pounds of pure muscle, prime Shaq attack had to be defended by at least 2 players, and most of them would need ice packs all over their body after battling Big Diesel in the post. During the Lakers three-peat, O'Neal averaged 30 and 15 in the playoffs and was by far the most dominant player in the league, whose dominance caused a shift in the rules and paved the way for pace and space era we see today. In this era, if I pick the best center for my top 5, I'd go with Hakeem Olajuwon, who is the most skilled center ever, officially first in blocks and the only center in top 10 in steals. Hakeem was playing the center position like a guard. With an array of crossovers, spins, dream shakes, and a great jump shot, he'd easily dominate on offense, and defensively, he'd be mobile enough to catch up with faster play and switching we see in today's game. Of course, we also have to mention Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain to round the top 5 center list.